Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers. Joining me here today to talk about the Seattle Seahawks and their 2024 NFL team preview, my guy from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, Mr. Jay McLovin. Jay, how you doing today, my friend? And let people know what you think about Seattle this upcoming season.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here, brother. This Seattle team, it has its own question marks, but not as bad as what we covered with Arizona or Minnesota. This team actually really excites me. The way they look on paper, the additions that they picked up. It's interesting because this team is actually going to be going up against 4 rookie quarterbacks. They will be going up against New England and Drake May, possibly Minnesota and McCarthy, Denver and Bo Nix, and lastly, Chicago and Caleb Williams. So, in theory, that should be 4 wins right there. But you never know, what McCarthy, if he is, could do with them, or Drake May. So you never know. But on paper, that should be 4 wins right in the bank. When I look at their schedule, I see Miami, Atlanta, San Fran, Detroit, Rams, San Fran again, followed by Green Bay. So on paper, with those losses, potentially, I see a 7-10 season. Doesn't mean they can't be better, but that's the way I see it. I see it like 7-10. What I like about this team is their D-line is versatile. They have a lot of players in that defense that can interchange. So if they have injuries, that won't necessarily kill this defense. They have other guys that can plug in. So having that versatility on that defensive line is huge for Seattle. When I look at Geno, Geno has basically come out and said he really, really loves working with Ryan Grubbs, their new offensive coordinator. As you know, Seattle has gone through a shakeup. Out is help me out there, Mel. Pete Carroll. Thank you. Pete Carroll is out. They got the new Mike McDonald in, and now they got a new offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubbs, who came out of Washington Huskies. As you know, he is the guy that developed Michael Penix when Michael Penix came over to the Huskies. He took Michael Penix from nothing and made him into a Heisman finalist. I don't think he won the Heisman. Did Penix get the Heisman? No, it wasn't. It was Caleb Williams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. But either way, he was still a Heisman finalist, which is a huge quantum leap, from where he came from. So if he can do for Geno, not that Geno is bad, but if he can elevate Geno up to that Heisman level like he did with Penix, that could pay huge dividends for the guys like Metcalf, Lockett, Najigba, and so forth. I mean, all these guys could get a huge benefit off of that. And that right there could be worth its weight in gold. So I'm really excited to see what Geno, who also is excited with this, can do with this team. 2023 pickups, cornerback Witherspoon and Najigba we're looking poised for breakout years in years 2 and 3. Witherspoon is developing a leadership quality, which will pay huge dividends in that secondary. And Geno, obviously, if he can do for Najigba through this new offensive coordinator, when you add that in with Metcalf and Lockett, I mean, we're talking about what could, and Kenny Walker III coming out of that backfield. Logan, this could be a big-time offense. They had the potential to be a big-time offense coming in this year, and they're going to need that. When you consider the likes of the 49ers and Rams in their division, they're going to need to be able to do that in order to keep pace or surpass them even. Again, the secondary is deep. Witherspoon, Woolen, Love, just to name a few. James and Pritchett, to name more. And then you got out there, you got Rayshawn Jenkins, or excuse me, you got I can't read my own handwriting. Kayvon. Well, I tell you what, sometimes Kayvon Wallace and Rayshawn Jenkins are free agents that they picked up. So the safeties and the corners look really good. The question mark for Seattle would be the front of that secondary, right? The linebackers. That really is kind of the question mark on that defense. Not the secondary. The secondary is going to be fine. It's going to be that linebacker crew. And can they stop the run? Can they do the middle route coverages, the short, deep, and dump passes? Can they defend that well? That's really where I think it's going to be. They had the 7th youngest roster in the NFL. So this team is extremely young. Out of 32 teams, they're number 7 in terms of age. So in terms of youth. The edge rusher, Boye Mafe, should have a breakout season because he has Mike McDonald. And you know what Mike McDonald did as a defensive coordinator over there with Baltimore. I think he can do the same thing with Bio Mafe. Bio Mafe, and I hope I'm saying his name right. And maybe it's either Mafe or Mafe. He had 9 sacks, 58 pressures last year. It would be good if he can elevate that, to 11 sacks and 78 pressures. And I think that's what McDonald is setting for him to do, or that's what he's going to try to get him to be able to do. And if that is the case, that along with the secondary, this could be a really, really good defense, as well as what we could see potentially on that offense. Logan, this could be a team that comes out of nowhere and surprises the hell out of the San Francisco 49ers. And we all know that Ayuk is not exactly feeling love from the 49ers. So I think this could be a possible contender here, Logan. Even though I have them at 7-10, I have them at 7-10 because of question marks. If they can take those question marks and put them into positivities, then this could be a very well 11-6 type of team.
Very well, they could be. And when you look at this team, you mentioned on offense, obviously Geno Smith had a solid year last year, all in all, threw the ball for over 3,000 yards, 3,624, 20 touchdowns, 9 INTs, not too shabby. Hopefully he can keep that production, maybe get a little bit better. Like you said, new head coach might bring a little bit more kind of new blood in to help out. But like you said, they've got a really solid just back and receiving core with Walker, DK, Lockett, and Jigba. I mean, even Noah Fant is a solid player as well there at the tight end. So I like this offense. This offense is good. When you look at the big guys up front, they got Charles Cross, Laken Tomlinson, Nick Harris, Anthony Bradford, Abraham Lucas, to name a few. So I think offensively, this team is going to take a step up. I think that, like I said, this is pretty much the core that they ran with last year. So I'm expecting, similar, if not better, results now that they've got another year under their belts this year. Now, when I go to defense, when you look at this team, I think the big subtraction that you're missing is, the final nail in the coffin, Jay, for the Legion of Boom. You mentioned they lost Pete Carroll, that he is gone. Well, they also lost Bobby Wagner, who went over to be with the Washington Commanders. He is gone, so that's just a big, locker room guy, who's been there for years and years on end, who is now gone. But you mentioned they drafted Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas, 16th overall. They're hoping that he can go in there early and produce as that front and stop and top defensive tackle. They've also got good players like Draymond Jones. Like you said, Boye Mafe is a guy who could really maybe step things up this year if all things are said and done in terms of sacks. Like I said, he got 9 last year. So he can get to the quarterback. He's got a nose for it. You've got also, like you said, Devin Witherspoon formerly out of Illinois, I believe. He's a really good player. Julian Love as well, who did really good work last year. Rashawn Jenkins, Reek Wooden, all those guys are solid. Kayvon Wallace, you mentioned as well. So I think that when you look at this Seattle team, I think that this team is a solid team and could be, like you mentioned, kind of a sleeper, someone who you look at and you don't think a whole lot about, but when they come into the year and they get things going, they could have a really good season all in all. And I think that, like you mentioned, when you look at their schedule, obviously, they're going to be trying to beat up on the other teams out there in the West, like the 49ers and company. They finished 9-8 last season. I think they can maybe get to I could see a similar season. I could see 10 wins also, maybe 11, but I see similar results for this team. Like I said, when you look at their schedule, coming off the gates, you got Broncos to kick things off. You've got some other solid teams. I mentioned San Francisco. You got Atlanta, who's looking refreshed this year. You've got the Bills, the Rams, just to name a couple. And you got the Packers, who we talked about. So I think this is a team who really could. I think that this is a team who should beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, but also has the potential to beat the teams that they're not expected to, because they have a solid team. They have a veteran quarterback. They've got guys that I'm expecting big things from the offense. I think the defense will be good, but I'm expecting a big step in terms of production on the offense this year. But I think Seattle, if you're a fan of this team, I think that they're going to play another good, solid season. I think I think they'll compete for the NFC West. I don't know if they're going to take it yet. I think they'll compete. I could see them definitely fighting for a playoff spot when all's said and done, because I think this is a really good squad. But it remains to be seen. Like I said, new head coach. We'll see how the players can react. That could either be great or it could be a catastrophe. We've seen both before, but that's just our thoughts on this team. Want to hear yours, though, in our comments, Facebook and YouTube. How will Seattle do this year? Will they have a good season? Can they get double-digit wins, or will they maybe take a slight step off? We're going to hear all in our comments. As always, from Jay McLovin. Appreciate you, my buddy, coming on the show, talking some Seattle Seahawks football. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, we'll talk to you again on another